It's a common misconception that video games are an inferior form of entertainment. Many of us who enjoy video games would argue that the creations by game developers are just as artistic as those in other mediums like movies or books. Kunitsu Gami takes this notion to a literal sense by blending various art forms like music, dance, visual art, and even food to create something so beautiful that it captivates audiences both within and beyond the gaming industry. By integrating these diverse elements, Kunitsu Gami not only showcases the depth and versatility of video games as an art form, but also highlights how they can offer rich, immersive experiences that rival those of more traditional artistic mediums. While Kunitsu Gami is an artistically stunning game that offers deep insight into Japanese culture and folklore, it's still a game at its core, and that means it has to be fun to play. To begin discussing Kunitsu Gami's gameplay, we must first define what it actually is. Is it a game focused on swordplay where you use precise timing to strike your opponents when they're vulnerable, or is it a tower defense game where you strategically position your units to fend off waves of demons, or perhaps it's a base building game? The truth is, it's none of these, and yet it encompasses elements of all of them. In Kunitsu Gami, you play as So, a warrior sent by the mountain goddess with the mission to protect Yoshiro on her quest to cleanse the mountain of defilement. The gameplay is quite straightforward. You'll progress through various stages down the mountain, starting on one side of the map and heading to the other. Your goal is to collect crystals and use them to carve a path for Yoshiro, enabling her to begin the cleansing process. Once she reaches the other side, you've completed the stage. However, there's a twist. When night falls, the demons known as Seethe begin emerging from torii gates trying to stop Yoshiro's progress. During these night phases, you have two ways to defend Yoshiro. The first is to handle the defenses yourself, and the second introduces the tower defense mechanics. As you advance, you can recruit various units to help protect Yoshiro. These units can either defend specific positions or attack on command. While I'm calling this tower defense, it feels more like commanding a small squadron. You'll direct them to cover flanks, control the high ground, or charge at the enemy when their defenses falter. Managing your units while simultaneously engaging in combat as So creates a thrilling, fast-paced experience that demands your full attention. The constant juggling of responsibilities like strategically deploying your units while actively participating in combat keeps you on your toes. This dynamic can be exhilarating, but it also means that a lapse in focus may leave you vulnerable to being overwhelmed. The intensity of gameplay ensures that every decision counts and keeps the action continuously engaging. Perhaps the biggest downside of the game is that it never really presents a significant challenge. You start with basic mechanics and only one or two new features are introduced each level. While this gradual progression helps maintain a fresh experience, it also means that the first half of the game feels more like an extended tutorial rather than a series of engaging stages. In the earlier levels, I often found myself waiting by gates for enemies to approach, only to quickly defeat them with little to no concern for their proximity to Yoshiro. At times, I would eliminate a wave so swiftly that I would stand there waiting for enemies to cross through the gate. Even the boss stages, which are supposed to be the most challenging, often fell short of providing a real test. Most of my failures came from not grasping a boss's mechanics initially, but once I understood them, I could easily defeat the boss on a subsequent attempt. This lack of ongoing difficulty meant that the sense of accomplishment and growth was somewhat diminished. Intertwining gameplay mechanics like tower defense, swordplay, and base building creates a unique and engaging experience that I enjoyed throughout the entire playthrough. However, this approach can sometimes feel like a jack of all trades but a master of none. The game includes all the elements needed to create something special, but without deeper refinement and a thorough analysis of how these elements interact, it often felt like something was missing. For instance, you can explore the backstories of villagers you work with. When this feature was introduced, I immediately thought it might influence gameplay, such as affecting team dynamics. I anticipated that villagers who disliked each other might need to be separated, while those who got along could be paired to boost combat effectiveness. Or perhaps some villagers might have certain characteristics like panicking when the enemy gets too close. This would signify that they would be better suited as a ranged unit. This would incentivize reading backstories and force players to get to know the villagers a little more. Unfortunately, the villagers' backstories had no impact on gameplay, which I felt was a significant missed opportunity. Another area that could have used further refinement is swordplay. While it is visually beautiful to watch So dance around the battlefield slicing apart demons, it can sometimes feel slow and clunky with only a handful of enemy types even testing your skills with a sword. The base building mechanics in Kunitsu Gami can feel shallow as well. When I mention base building, you might think of constructing structures from the ground up or developing defenses. However, in Kunitsu Gami, base building is quite different. It simply involves returning to a town you've liberated, instructing villagers to start working on projects, and then checking back after completing a stage or two to see what they've accomplished. This process is very straightforward and lacks creativity, quickly turning what could be an engaging feature into a repetitive chore. The only redeeming aspect of this feature is the satisfaction of seeing the villages you've repaired transform from devastated areas into clean, organized Japanese towns. This visual progress can be somewhat rewarding. However, beyond this, the base building remains underwhelming and tedious. It's also tied to collectibles and upgrades. Completing projects rewards you with either collectibles or musubi, the game's main currency. Skipping most of the repairs means missing out on significant upgrades and collectibles. On the positive side, the game offers replayability with each stage presenting additional challenges after initial completion. These challenges not only grant musubi and collectibles, but also advance time, allowing villagers to complete repairs in the towns. While Kunitsu Gami's gameplay might seem shallow in some respects, that's not really the core focus of the game. As previously mentioned, Kunitsu Gami excels in presenting a rich tapestry of art forms including music, dance, food, and more to create something truly stunning. All of these artistic elements are deeply inspired by Japanese culture and folklore. For instance, the concept of Yoshiro cleansing the mountain and her actions are influenced by Kagura, a traditional Shinto ritual dance with various historical forms. Additionally, many elements in the game draw clear inspiration from Kagura. The masks worn by units are part of Shinto rituals, and So's fighting style is also derived from Japanese dance. The Seethe, the game's main antagonists, are inspired by Mononoke, vengeful spirits that bring disease and death. Moreover, the game's art style is rooted in historical significance, reflecting the aesthetic themes of Japan's Edo era. The music in Kunitsu Gami plays a crucial role in both presenting an authentic image and enhancing the gameplay's experience. The soundtrack is exceptional, seamlessly blending traditional and modern styles to create unique and evocative tracks for various situations. The music dynamically shifts in response to the game's events, growing darker and more intense as night falls, which heightens the tension and sense of urgency. This atmospheric shift not only immerses players in the game's world, but also intensifies the emotional impact of each stage, making the overall experience more engaging and memorable. In a similar vein, the game's approach to collectibles further enriches this immersive experience. Generally, I'm not a fan of collectibles. I don't mind them when they alter your appearance or modify the game in some way, especially if they're relatively easy to obtain. However, Kunitsu Gami takes the concept of collectibles to a new level. We've discussed the art and history embedded in Kunitsu Gami, but the game introduces these elements primarily through collectibles. You could obtain various items such as emaplaques, paintings, and traditional sweets. The paintings are crafted in the traditional ukiyo-e style, the emaplaques feature figurines of creatures and characters from the game, and the sweets are classic Japanese confections. What sets these collectibles apart is their accompanying backstories. Although the stories of the emaplaques are fictional, they draw significant inspiration from Japanese folklore, offering insight into the culture. The sweets also come with their own historical context. Despite my general aversion to collectibles, Kunitsu Gami's approach made me feel like I was learning a piece of history rather than just gathering items I'd soon forget about. This unique presentation made collecting these items genuinely engaging, and I can confidently say that Kunitsu Gami is the first game that made me truly care about obtaining collectibles. While I would have liked Kunitsu Gami's gameplay to be a bit more compelling, it's evident that this wasn't the developer's primary focus. Capcom aimed to create a visually and culturally rich experience deeply inspired by Japanese art and folklore. In this respect, they have undoubtedly succeeded. The game's artistic achievements and cultural references are impressive, making it a standout in its genre. Anyone who has an appreciation for Japanese art and culture will find a lot to enjoy during their time on Mount Kafuku. The unique blend of visual beauty, historical insight, and evocative music ensures that Kunitsu Gami offers a memorable and enriching experience even if its gameplay doesn't fully match its artistic ambition. For those who value cultural immersion and aesthetic craftsmanship, Kunitsu Gami is a journey well worth taking. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and be sure to check out our Twitch for live content. Until next time, cheers!